Hey, welcome back, everybody. Let's do a little bit of a news of the day thing here, and then I'll probably do my treadmill and get ready for tonight's games. That kind of normal stuff. I'm almost finished that show too that I was talking about the other day, and then I could do a review on the entertainment guy for that. So looking forward to that because man, this season's fantastic. Really hoping it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. I'm going to be really angry. There's a lot of shows that end on cliffhangers because, of course, they get canceled, right? So, if you're an Oilers fan, this potentially good news. Skinner has been placed on the taxi squad, so that means Mike Smith could be back. It's been an odd past couple of weeks for the Oilers when you look at their goaltending and guys going through protocols and waiting for things to pan out. But Smith may very well be back. Last time I looked, I didn't see for sure that he was back, but I would think in all likelihood he probably is. And that'd be good news for the Oilers. I would think you throw him in for a couple of games right off the hop here. Chason has cleared waivers. Chason can now be placed on the taxi squad, or they may look to trade him now that he's cleared waivers, and somebody might pick him up because they don't have to waive him again. They can just put him straight into a taxi squad situation or an AHL situation. And what's interesting is that apparently with the taxi squad, what's being reported by the Flames and by other teams as well is that this ensures you have a lot of miserable players. They're not playing in the NHL. They're not on the AHL team. They're in no man's land. So they're just waiting around. Some players are good with it, some not so much. So instead of having just a couple of players around your team who aren't happy about not getting enough ice time, now you get a bunch. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things go the rest of the season. It does feel like there's a lot of disgruntled players, but I think this just brings a lot of it out that normally we wouldn't see. Good news for Canes fans. It looks like everybody that's been in protocols should be back in the lineup tonight, and that's against Chicago, so that's bad news for the Blackhawks. But we'll see. We'll see if Carolina, with everybody back in the lineup, if they take off and win this one, like I don't know, 7-3 or 8-5 or something like that. But it'll be interesting. And with Mrazek out, if you're expecting a trade so they can pick up somebody to push Nedeljkovic down to the number 3 spot and somebody to spot out Reimer, apparently that's not on the horizon. The Canes are not looking at making a move in net. If you're an Avs fan, if you're not sitting down, maybe have a seat. The following players have all been named as week to week. Week to week means whatever. It is the most odd way of labeling all of these injuries. It means might be a week, could be months. We just don't know. Calvert, Bellemare, Taves, Johnson, Francouz, and MacKinnon are all listed as week to week for the Avs. So MacKinnon, of course, is the one that stands out, but Francouz does too because it means Miska's going to get in some games, and we'll see if that hurts him down the road. Because, again, I do like Francouz. I think he can push Grubauer. I'm not convinced Miska can. And they'll miss Calvert. They'll miss Bellemare. That's some depth. And, of course, Taves and Johnson on the blue line leaves them with a very young, inexperienced blue line as well. So for these injuries to all happen, it makes you wonder if maybe they would have kept Cole if they knew that was coming. But, it's all done now. Laine is going to play with Texier and Atkinson tonight. If that line stays together, can we call it the latte line? And here's why. The L from Laine, the AT from Atkinson, and the TE from Texier. The latte line. I know it's in the wrong order, but I looked at it and I thought, can I come up with, the latte line, that works. Sure. So if they stay together, there you go. Team has a name for that line right out of the gate. I haven't even played together yet. Laine with Texier and Atkinson would be very interesting because all three of those guys can score goals. So who's going to be the primary passer in that situation? Texier? Does it become Atkinson? Or does Laine put up more assists than he put up goals like he did last year in Winnipeg? Is that where we end up? So that'll be interesting. If you're a Rangers fan, Vitaly Kravtsov, who's off to a good portion, he was having a good season in the KHL, 22 points in I think 44 games overall. Apparently on Monday he took a pretty brutal hit. And it looks like it's a concussion. And so we don't know how long that's going to be. But of course, with concussions, it's this wonderful and basically nebulous thing that, well, I guess Colorado can just say he's week to week. You just have Colorado say, yeah, Kravtsov, he's week to week. Sure, week to week. All right. So yeah, we'll see if Kravtsov is okay sooner or later, and when the KHL season is over, does he come over and play for the Rangers? So KHL season will be over before the NHL season, so we'll see. I'm wearing the Montreal jersey because tonight Shea Weber gets to play his 1,000th game in a victory over the Vancouver Canucks. Yep. See, I don't make predictions, but I think I'm pretty safe in this one. The Canucks have only beaten Montreal once out of 4 games. That was in a shootout. It was in a very sloppy game. And since then, Montreal's made it look easy. And so, congratulations to Shea Weber on 1,000 games. And kudos on whatever goals you score tonight against Vancouver in what I'm assuming will be a 5-1 or 7-2 victory over Vancouver. Something along those lines. That's my assumption anyways. We'll see what happens. But yeah, 1,000 games for Weber. The impressive thing about 1,000 games for Weber is the amount of injuries he's had along the way, the amount of games he's missed. The fact he still gets to 1,000 games is fantastic. I do think he's a Hall of Famer. And I don't know if first ballot or not, but I do think he's a Hall of Famer. And I think he's been underrated for Montreal this year. He's been really, really solid for them. After what was a shaky playoffs in 2020, he had some shaky times in the playoffs that we had in the summer. So he's been good this year so far. All the best to him. So as of yesterday, NHL teams can now ask players to waive their no movement clauses for the expansion draft. So when I was doing the expansion drafts and trying to figure out, okay, who's going to get taken by Seattle from each team, and I acknowledge, like, we'll see, right? We'll see what happens because there are no movement clauses. That means you have to protect a guy with a no movement clause. Doesn't matter if it's a no trade clause. And if that contract expires at the end of this season, you do not have to protect somebody with a no movement clause. They are considered a free agent because they're not signed for the following season. So there are 48 no movement clauses currently in the NHL, and 4 of them are in Chicago. But I still don't think Chicago loses a significant piece in the expansion draft because of where they're at right now and the overall roster they have. I don't think they lose a significant piece to the Seattle Kraken. 9 teams have no worries about no movement clauses. They have 0. Anaheim, Columbus, Detroit, Edmonton, New Jersey, the Islanders, Ottawa, St. Louis, Vancouver. Again, if a contract expires at the end of this season, you do not have to protect the player. So those 9 teams may get a call from somebody who has some no movement clauses they want to get rid of. And here's the thing too. If you trade a guy with a clause like that, I don't think that goes in trade anymore. That's one of the changes with the collective bargaining agreement. When you trade them, that clause is gone. So if you trade somebody and they have that clause, they've waived it, that clause doesn't go with them. So 48 players, we'll see how many of them get asked, but you have until July 13th to get them to waive it. So there's no need to necessarily sit down with a player early February and go, so can you waive? Can you waive now? And then call them every day or text them and just text waive now. How about now? Can we waive it now? I think that would probably be aggravating, so I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, the NHL, it'll be interesting to see as we go to Team 32 and Seattle coming in during all this uncertainty. It's going to be fascinating. Those no movement clauses last time in 2017 caused some pretty strong trades for the Vegas Golden Knights. And you look back at those trades, Vegas won virtually all of them. And you look at what teams would have lost rather than what they traded to keep the players they wanted to keep. As of, for instance, Shea Theodore going to Anaheim so that they don't lose either Manson or Vatanen. That looks like a bad move. Shea Theodore is a pretty good defenseman right now for the Vegas Golden Knights. So I think in hindsight, if you wanted to go back in time, you say, you know what, we'll hold on to Theodore and you guys can take either Vatanen or Manson. We're fine with that. And who knows, maybe it would have negatively impacted Vegas if general managers had known then what they know now. I also wanted to close off on this. As Vancouver goes into another game with Montreal, Montreal has exposed something with the Vancouver Canucks that they're not good under pressure. The puck pressure that's provided by Montreal is it's alarming how successful it is against Vancouver. It speaks both to how well Montreal's playing and how poorly the Canucks are playing. And that is a coaching issue. So because you can't look at it and say, well, it's one guy. So it's not a situation where you can go, well, it's all Tyler Myers. Other than him, the rest of the defense, nobody turned the puck over. There wasn't any forwards. It was just him. If we got rid of him, we're good. It's just Chatfield. He's inexperienced. He had a couple of turnovers. Well, see, that Miller with that turnover. So you get into multiple players here, and it becomes problematic, and then it reflects on the coaches. So if this continues this way, I could see changes being made. And I'm not saying Travis Green, but something has to change. And I think for Jim Benning, the pressure's on this year. If the Canucks take a major step back, despite this being more of a tournament because you're only playing Canadian teams, if the Canucks take a major step back and they end up winning, say, 15 games this year or 20 games this year and losing 36, we may see changes behind the bench sooner rather than later to try to prevent that, because Benning could end up being the guy that takes the fall at the end of the year. And with the Seattle expansion on the horizon, maybe that increases pressure in Vancouver, especially if Seattle's really good out of the gate. Like, just imagine next year, Seattle knocks Vancouver out of a playoff spot the last weekend, and Seattle gets it. That's kind of a nightmare scenario. But hey, I do enjoy reporting on hockey, even when a team I cheer for isn't doing very well. Thankfully, I have a lot of experience with teams I cheer for not doing well. Whether it's the 5-6 years, I think it was 5 or 6 years there that Boston was just bad. Dallas, about like decades of bad for Dallas and Minnesota North Stars, and for Vancouver, it's been a lot of bad in there too. So I'm very experienced in this. You develop a bit of a thick skin, but the turnovers, that issue is definitely a coaching issue. And if they can't fix it, they've already changed out the defense enough that I think next up the coaching staff will be looked at. But I'll be interested to see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.